Hello and welcome to Economic Forum, where we discuss various issues affecting our economy in Zimbabwe. In this program, we bring different topics and see how they impact our economy. These can be topics to do with mining, agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, and many other aspects of life. We examine them here to see how they help us economically. My name is John Masugu. And today we are going to be looking at women in media entrepreneurship. Where are they? Are they there? Do we have women media moguls? If they are not there, we want to find out why. And to answer all those questions about women making it in media business, we've invited Commissioner Susan Makore, who is also in her own right, someone who has gone through being a top media executive and also a trainer or a scholar in media business. Susan, we welcome you to Economic Forum.
Thank you, and it's good to be here.
Yes. When we mention the names of Rupert Murdoch and others, where is the name Susan Makore and others? I mean women.
Well, I think you've pitched it in a different angle completely, because I think when I look at myself, I am not in that mold of the owners.
Yeah.
I'm more in the mold of perhaps the executives, those that have managed, that have strategized, that have learned the business of media. So that's where I am. And like you rightly said, also maybe more on the research side now, and also more on the what more can we do to get the media industry ticking as an industry and as a business. Yes. So that's where I am. Those are the streets I'm walking in now.
Yes. Well, I was also looking at it from beyond that. Where are the women among the moguls, meaning ownership?
They are there. When you look at it globally, obviously, you will find women who have cut their teeth in the media ownership space. Not so much, I guess, when you are looking at it from a local perspective. In Zimbabwe, we don't have moguls that are women, media moguls. We do have women that own media businesses that are trying to make it work. They are there. They are definitely few, and perhaps not right at the top, but they are there, and they are working hard to make sure that us as women who are in the media also see them as our role models.
Yes.
Our children, our grandchildren, will definitely also see them as role models.
Looking at the trend, Susan, what is it like in terms of developing towards that, where in the near future we're going to have more women employers in the media?
The media industry itself is not an easy industry. Not that I'm saying other industries are easy, but when you look at other areas in terms of having more women, there are areas where you see more women who are more visible. For instance, if you look at women that own maybe shops in terms of food manufacturing, when you look at women that are maybe in the fashion industry, even when you look at women in public relations, there are quite a number that own those enterprises. I think where we've also made a bit of headway is the women that are in advertising. You also see women that own or that are running quite a lot of advertising agencies. When you look at what we would consider mainstream media, which is your print, your broadcasting, and now possibly the digital space as well, because that's where you find the publishers. We have very few women. I guess the big one that we can actually mention is someone like Blessing Magenga, who owns Business Connect. She has been in the game for over 30 years, and I would like to say she's still going strong. You've also seen her efforts to diversify. We've also seen some other young upcoming, like Monica Cheru. She set up again a media house, which is print. So on the print side, we do see them, and there are a host of other younger ones who are even publishing online. But when you now go to the broadcasting space, I think that's where we need to do more, because we don't have any moguls that own
radio stations or television stations,
yes,
and employ men.
Yeah, well, when you talk about employment, though, if you are a top executive running, you do employ. So that's slightly different. But in terms of management, we've seen quite a lot of women manage media organizations, and there are a few that are there currently.
Well, you come from that stable yourself.
Yes, I do. Yes, I have done that for over 12 years. I have managed media houses. So yes, it is also that on its own quite a difficult thing to do. But I mean, all jobs are difficult, but rewarding nonetheless.
Yes, but just to wind up this segment, what was your experience? Because you were a CEO of a growing media house, and like we said, establishing radio stations. At one time, attempting to establish a TV station. Going national as well as local radio and so forth. What was the experience like?
Very difficult, very challenging. I guess when you look at a country like ours, where the media as a business is not really seen that way when you are looking for funding, it's a struggle to get money from banks. For an industry where you need to buy all your equipment externally, well, that's very expensive. Also, even appreciating that this is a business that needs that kind of support, that was always a struggle. But saying that, I think broadcasting is I would say a labor of love. It's really something that you have to be passionate about, because even when it happens and the money starts coming in, it does not come in, in the huge amounts you expect. And also, it's a business that is that can easily be affected by other things that are happening. For instance, if there's certain headwinds that come your way, businesses, the first thing they cut is their advertising budgets, and that immediately impacts on you. So I think you really have to be very agile. You really have to be looking at ways to ensure that if this revenue stream drops, what else can you do? And we did that most of the time, and you find yourself getting into events more, investing into mobile vans so that you can go and have road shows and make money to buttress what you are making on radio or even on TV.
That's Susan Makore, who is our guest today. She's a media commissioner with the Zimbabwe Media Commission, and also with the experience of actually being a CEO of a growing media organization. And she's our guest on Economic Forum. So join us in the second segment of the program. Well, as we get into the second segment of Economic Forum, the question is still why there are few or fewer women owners of the media. Because today we are discussing media entrepreneurship with regards to women owning them. And our guest is Susan Makore here, who has been around in the media for some time, starting off being a scholar and also being a CEO and now a commissioner. I think you are the best person to explain that.
Well, it's a very difficult question, actually, because the reasons are many. I think one of the major reasons is what I alluded to. It's not an easy industry to get into, and it's very difficult to sit in a bank and convince bankers that you want to start a media business and you need to borrow millions. And when you do even the projections based on what media businesses make, it's not very comforting to a lender. So there is that. Then also for the women themselves, the media is a very aggressive business. I think when you look at it, you see that there are a lot of complicated situations that come up.
Well, we'd like to know about them.
Yes, it's a very political
so that we can help each other
business as well.
Yes.
You know, because you are dealing with issues that can be extremely emotive, and I think sometimes as women as well, we know that the media is a hard-hit area. Maybe let me put it that way. The money is very difficult to come by, but the job itself, the long hours, this is a 24-hour business. Mm-hmm. And when you are a leader of that business, it is very complicated. I think if you were speaking to someone who owns a hospital, they'll probably tell you something similar. That jobs like that are very tough, and they are very tough on women. Women who are mothers, they are wives, you know, they are homemakers and all that stuff, and trying to make all this work can be very difficult. And I would say that there are fewer women because also the rewards are not that many. You know, there is a business that you can get into and you can see the profit come in. But in terms of the media business, it is extremely complicated. And that getting that business to be really lucrative and to then say, I wake up every day and I do this 24/7 and these are the returns. Mm-hmm. That's the other side. That as a business, it is very complicated.
Maybe listening to you while you are still there, is it also complicated because on the other hand, or on the other end actually, where you are going to be asking for money and so forth, there are men who are not supportive of your proposal simply because you're a woman and they don't have confidence?
Obviously, that is there. And I think any woman who is in business, no matter what business it is, they will tell you that the boys' club, as we call it, is a major challenge. It's breaking into that boys' club. Sometimes you are not able to go where they go. And sometimes when people see you going to those places as a woman, you know, they will label you as well. You know, it's if John Masuku is going to meet a potential business baker at 8 p.m., and then because that person is busy and they end up meeting at 10 p.m., nobody says anything. Imagine if it is me and I'm seated there, I'm waiting. And when people see me in and out of these offices, they're going to say a lot of things. We've seen it happen in our industry where even senior women who are in the newsrooms have faced this. You know, they are going there, they are doing their work, they get the story. Even getting a story, you are labeled, you got that story because of A, B, C, D, because your relationship is like this or like that with that person. So those are the challenges that women face. And in fact, we did a leadership mapping research with the World Association of News Publishers, WIN, that was released a few weeks ago actually. The results were released on the week of International Women's Day on the 8th of March this month. So you can actually see from that research that when you look globally at the percentage of women in leadership who are occupying leadership roles, you know, yes, there's been a gain from 18%, and now that figure has gone up to 24%.
And this is ownership and leadership.
This is leadership of the business and editorial lead. And most of them, they are MDs and CEOs, but they are founders, they are owners. They are all in that group of the 24. So, and this is an increase from the 21% that was there in 2022. So we have actually seen an increase. However, when you look at editorial, like the people that make the decisions, women remain at 30%, which includes your editor-in-chief, your editorial role. And here we are even saying this number has actually risen from 52 to 60. And this is amongst the people that were surveyed. And I know you would ask me, what about Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe, we are at 13%.
And up from where?
Actually, down.
We've gone down.
We've gone down because we were at 18%. We've gone down because some women leads who were there in 2022. I'll give the example of the ZBC CEO and someone who was also at AB, who was a woman but no longer there. So these women, when they moved, they were replaced by men. Okay. And also there are some other positions, like maybe directors of programming, which had women. Those women were replaced by men. So this is how the number has come down from 18 to 13%.
Well, that's Susan Makore. We are discussing women in media entrepreneurship, or women in business, that is ownership, as well as the key roles that they play as CEOs or even in editorship. So join us in the third and final segment of Economic Forum. Well, it was interesting to learn from our guest here that 24%, of the leadership in the media industry globally are women. And here we're talking about, ownership as well as leadership, CEO and so forth. And also in Zimbabwe, you put it at 13%, with a worry that that was a drop because of some of the women who left their jobs as CEOs. But let's look at boards, because also those decide. You mentioned, I think twice, that when the women left, they were replaced by men in all cases. Do we have good women representation in media boards?
I think our boards are not so bad. I think, if my memory serves me right, we have two, the biggest actually, media organizations in the country are headed by women. The board chairpersons are women. Actually, and also the Media Commission is a woman as a chairperson. Yeah. Yes, so that actually helps because those decisions are made at that level. But again, yes, you can try and create an enabling environment for everyone to drop in their CV. And I'm sure they probably try and do that. So that helps. And I think for me, that is definitely a good indicator. So for instance, if ZBC has a woman at the board level, Zimpepers has a woman at the board level, that is pretty much very...
ZMC.
And ZMC.
Yeah.
Yes. But so I think that is very much appreciated. But again, I think as boards, I'm aware also of a research that was done recently in Zimbabwe that was analyzing, women on boards. And the numbers are also not very encouraging. They are around about the same range, where there are very few women on those boards. Yes, very few are at 50-50. So we also have to do more in terms of the boards. So in terms of board composition, obviously the men-women ratio is important, but also diversity by age. Some boards barely have any young people. So you also need that perspective of young people on those boards. It's important to have the mix. The younger people, the older people. The younger people come in with newer knowledge, perhaps even some of the areas that the older people are not so much into. I mean, issue of technology. Now we talk so much about artificial intelligence, digital transformation at the core has a lot of young people understanding that better than the older people. So when you now mix, the older people come in and they mentor, also knowing where you came from is important.
While we're concentrating on mainstream media, we should also mention those individuals who are actually running media that is commissioned by mainstream media, like Rebecca Chisamba
yes.
and others, how they've established organizations or companies that are actually feeding a lot of content to the media houses.
Yes, and also being role models. Chisamba is a big role model to a lot of women that are in the media. And that's why I think from a production house kind of area, there are a lot of women there.
And these are
these are both young and older. The Peggy Mvudulus, the Tariro Makanga, Chikumbiri. They are there, their own media houses, and their own production houses that feed the funnel of these media houses, and we cannot disregard them because they do a fantastic job.
Maybe at this point, before we wind up, you want to talk about women in business reporting, so that even their stories are told by women, and also women as consumers of business news.
I think over the past 10 years, we've seen a lot of progress in the journalism field, where perhaps if we were having this conversation 10 years ago, we would be saying, oh, we've had one, we've had two, we had Victoria Rujizo, who was a business reporter, but now we've got so many young women journalists that are going into these bits where the men were the ones that were running in these bits. So you've got the women right there, and you find them as business reporters, you find them as digital tech reporters, you find them as health reporters, something that was not there before. So I think that one we have moved, and we are seeing a lot more women going into any bit that you can think of.
Well, that's Susan Makore. She is a media commissioner with the Zimbabwe Media Commission, and also a former chief executive officer of a growing media house, a scholar as well as a trainer. She has been talking to us here about women in media entrepreneurship, media ownership as it were. If you have any questions that you would like to ask about what we're discussing here and in any other programs, you can do so on the numbers that are showing on your screen. If you'd like to engage with us, you can do that on the social media platforms that again are flashing on your screen. In case you have missed some of the episodes of Economic Forum, you can watch them on our YouTube channel, which is Economic Forum Zimbabwe. So I would like to thank Commissioner Susan Makore for coming to this program to tell us about media ownership and also media leadership by women and the Economic Forum production crew. This is John Masu.